your old pal said, son, you've got a friend in me. Yeah, you've got a friend in me.
Please sing along with Leah Morris for our hymn number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. It's around, so come in whenever you like.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. 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 Come, yet again come.
We are now called together, called by bell and bird, called by oak leaf and pine needle, called by the beat of our hearts, to join again the living tradition we share, to answer again the call to wisdom and to respond to love. Today, with the bell ringing from Big Ben in London, and the nightingales singing in Africa and Europe, let us remember the third and fourth of our tradition's sources. Wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life, and Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves.
Good morning. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains, New York, formerly of the Lenape Nation. I'm the Reverend Meredith Garmon, minister, coming to you from our congregation sanctuary.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Brenneman, Director of Religious Education and Faith Development, and also your worship associate this morning.
Welcome to this home of liberal religion. What makes a religion liberal? 5 orientations.
An orientation toward learning. Revelation is continuous. Meaning has not been finally captured. Nothing is complete, and thus nothing is exempt from criticism.
An orientation toward freedom. All relations must rest on free consent. Coercions may be subtle, so the work of removing them is ongoing.
An orientation toward justice. We are morally obligated to direct our effort toward the establishment of a just and loving community. Hence, the voices of prophets are indispensable.
An orientation toward institution building. We cannot become whole without guiding institutions.
Orientation toward hope. Progress, we know, is not inevitable, but it is possible.
learning, freedom, justice, institution building, and hope. And the sun today is in the 11th week of summer. The daylight today at White Plains latitude is 2 minutes, 40 seconds shorter than yesterday. The moon is waning crescent. New moon begins tomorrow evening.
A special welcome to our visitors. If you're a first-time visitor, we invite you to introduce yourself in the chat. You'll find the order of service on our website at cuucwp.org. There you'll also find resources to help keep us connected during this time and a donate button. For September, our Share the Plate funds go to the Interfaith Council for New Americans of Westchester, a coalition of local congregations that welcomes refugees resettled in our area. We're able to take contributions via the donate button for the pledge, the plate share, and minister's discretionary fund.
And now our board chair, Joe Majak, has some news and then will lead us in lighting our chalices.
Hi, I'm Joe Majak. As the chair of the board for this congregation, I welcome you. At CUUC, we continue to explore creative and innovative ways to work around the challenges arising out of the ongoing pandemic. This morning, I bring an important message from the reopening and worship committees, who have collaborated to develop a brand new outdoor afternoon worship service. Members and friends are invited to join together outdoors in the lower lot on Sunday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. for an in-person service that will be a more intimate version of the worship we streamed online that morning. Bring your own lawn chair or use the extra chairs that we'll provide. Masks will be required and social distancing recommended. If the weather is unfavorable and we need to cancel, we will send out an email and post a note on the CUUC website. These new afternoon services are being planned for September 12th, September 19th, and September 26th, and possibly beyond. They will also include outdoor RE activities for children and youth from 4 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. Again, RE activities for children and youth from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Watch for more details in the coming weeks. For additional information, please contact Creighton Cray at creighton.cray@gmail.com. Please note, these Sunday afternoon services are in-person only. There will be no live streaming or other virtual transmission of these services. Again, the first outdoor service begins at 4:30 p.m. on Sunday, September 12th. And now it's time to light the chalice. On the 11th Sunday of the season, we dedicate our chalice to the third and fourth sources of the living traditions we share. Wisdom from the world's religions, which inspire us in our ethical and spiritual life, and Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Please join me in the responsive chalice lighting in your order of service. Blessed is the fire of our faith and the chalice of our community. Blessed is the living tradition we carry forward in our work and in our love. Blessed is the transient flame we kindle here. Blessed is the illuminated moment of our gathering. Blessed is the light of the eternal. Blessed is the sacred call of life to which we give ourselves in answer.
The Phlogiston theory of combustion, first proposed in 1667, said any flammable substance contains an element called phlogiston, and burning releases it. When a log is all burned up, the fire stops because all the phlogiston has been released out of it and absorbed by the air. Growing plants then absorb this phlogiston from the air, which is why plant matter burns so well. The phlogiston theory also explained why a fire in an enclosed space would go out, because the air in that space had absorbed all the phlogiston it could, so no more could be released into the air. Pretty cool theory. Explains a lot. Completely wrong. We now know the process of combustion is just the opposite. When something burns, it's not releasing something into the air, it's taking oxygen out of the air and oxidizing with it. Which brings us back to Joseph Priestley, a founding figure of Unitarianism and famous for discovering oxygen. He focused sunlight on mercuric oxide in a glass tube which released a gas. Priestley noted that candles burned brighter in the gas and that a mouse was more active and lived longer while breathing it. After breathing the gas himself, Priestley wrote, "The feeling of it to my lungs was not sensibly different from that of common air, but I fancied that my breast felt peculiarly light and easy for some time afterwards." Joseph Priestley had discovered oxygen, only he called it dephlogisticated air. You can see what he was thinking, that candles burn brighter because this special dephlogisticated air could better absorb phlogiston released from the candle. Have you ever encountered something new and delightful, but got completely backwards what it was and how it worked? If so, you're in good company. The path of discovery, whether in science or in our spiritual lives, is a collective enterprise. We do it together. We need each other. My Curiosity by Marie-Louise Kashnitz, translated by Liesel Mueller. My curiosity, the expatriate, has returned. Bright-eyed, she can be seen strolling on this side of life again. Salve, she says, with her kind, crooked face, voice of a 2-year-old, innocent as a violet, cheeks like fish skin, not yet dry behind the ears. Ugly or beautiful, she welcomes it all. As if I hadn't had it up to here, she goes after my portion, my lion's share of whatever happens in houses that aren't my business. I am to keep an eye out for every tragedy, an ear to the ground for every violent act. The loveliest sunset can't compete. The most delicate grasses are powerless. How I long for the time when she had no rights, when I drifted along in the wake of death in milky eddies of dreaming. No use running her off, my tormentor. She comes right back, trotting and bounding, her hot, doggy breath brushing my face. It does no good to complain. What a terrible racket, all that running and ringing. What a voice coming out of myself. A mockingbird's voice, which says, "What do you want? You are alive." Please join now in the sung invocation, "We Would Be One."
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love, to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community.
The mission of Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation is the covenant of this congregation. Would all members and visitors who would like to affirm it along with me? We covenant to nurture each other in our spiritual journeys, foster compassion and understanding within and beyond our community, and engage in service to transform ourselves and our world. Now here's our congregation's choir quartet singing Rockin' Robin.
Twilly-dilly-dee, 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 tweet, 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 tweet. He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweedly-dee. Go rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Tweet, tweedly-dee. Every little swallow, every chickadee, every little bird in the tall oak tree, the wise old owl, the big fat crow, flapping their wings, singing go bird go. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweedly-dee. Go rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Tweet, tweedly-dee. A pretty little raven at the bird bandstand taught him how to do the bop, and it was grand. They started going steady, and bless my soul, he out-bopped the buzzard and the oriole. He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. tweedly-dee. Go rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Tweet, tweedly-dee, tweedly-diddly-dee. Tweedly-diddly-dee, tweedly-diddly-dee. Tweedly-diddly-dee, tweedly-diddly-dee. Tweedly-diddly-dee, tweet, 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 tweet. He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweedly-dee. Go rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Tweet, tweedly-dee. Go rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight. Tweet, tweedly-dee. Tweedly-diddly-dee. 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 Tweet, 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 tweet.
Good morning. This morning I'd like to tell you a little bit about the recipients of your plate share in September, the Interfaith Council for New Americans in Westchester, which many of you know as ICNA. As part of this interfaith group, CUUC has helped to resettle 3 families in Westchester and 1 upstate. Because the refugee resettlement was greatly reduced under the previous administration, ICNA resettled Afghan ally families who arrived through the Special Immigrant Visa Program. When Fardeen and Manaz and the children arrived in November of 2017, they had been living in Kabul in hiding as a result of Fardeen's 11-year work history with American affiliates in Afghanistan. Fardeen and Manaz both came from families that believed in education. Fardeen had begun college but had to quit because he needed to support his family. And Manaz had also been in school, but at one point it became too dangerous under the Taliban for girls to go to school, and so she had to stop going. Devotion to family is extremely strong in Afghan culture, and during the year before his application was approved, Fardeen's father died. When his visa was approved, the idea of leaving his widowed mother was heart-wrenching, but to protect his family, he left his mother and siblings behind. In May of 2019, the Islah family arrived, and although they had family here, that family was unable to support them both financially and with housing. The Islahs came unable to read and write in either their home language or in English. Gulab had only 1 year of education, that was in the 2nd grade, and Farishta had not spent 1 day in a classroom. From his first day, Gulab kept asking about finding a job, and with determination, he did find one. In February of 2020, Fardeen's brother Haroon was granted permission to come with his family. He was also an SIV. Arriving just before COVID, his employment was delayed, and Haida, his wife, began sewing face masks and was paid through donations meant to support the employment of Afghan women. Haroon did eventually find a job at White Plains Hospital, and I want to say it was through a member of CUUC. Volunteers who've had the chance to work directly with these families have become deeply moved by their courage, kindness, and motivation to become part of the community. We think the stories of our families are exceptional, but they're not. These are the stories of refugees across the country. Fear and flight are the story of every refugee. You have seen the recent horrific headlines coming out of Afghanistan. In the coming weeks and months, refugees will arrive in Westchester to start a new life. There will be a need to increase capacity for resettlement here. They too will be courageous, kind, and motivated to become part of our community. I know that you stand ready to help them through your donation to the September Plate Share. Thank you.
As Jane mentioned, the need will be great to assist Afghan refugees this fall. 50% of September's offering plate collection supports ICNA, the Interfaith Council for New Americans in Westchester. In addition, you may make a contribution earmarked for ICNA via CUUC's website or by sending a check to CUUC with ICNA noted in the memo line. The Refugee Resettlement Social Justice Team also welcomes your personal involvement. There will be opportunities to assist with housing, education, English as a second language, transportation, employment, medical appointments, advocacy, and more. Feel free to contact me, Robin Roque, or Jane Dixon to join our team of volunteers. Your involvement is welcome regardless of how much or how little time you have to assist. Finally, Hearts and Homes for Refugees, another Westchester-based refugee group, will be coordinating efforts beyond what ICNA and other individual resettlement groups will be doing. They will help source volunteers whenever they are needed, and CUUC members are encouraged to support their work until we receive our own family to resettle later this fall. There is a link in this week's e-Communitarian to a letter from Hearts and Homes for Refugees that describes the opportunities and provides a link to sign up. Thank you for your support.
In prayer, we take a moment to solemnly remind ourselves of our intentions and our gratitude, that they may guide and affirm our actions and our being. Will you then pray with me? Dear Spirit of life, we are beings of peace, compassionate and wise. We have, every one of us, known peace, the divine peace that the world can neither give nor take away. Yet we do not always dwell there. We have, every one of us, been wise and compassionate, a calm embodiment of loving kindness. Yet we are not always so non-reactive and empathetically kind. Spirit of life, hear our prayer. May we more clearly apprehend the peace that is always there at our center, more intuitively grasp that we are truly composed of compassion, more immediately recall that we are indeed made of wisdom. Spirit of life, we thank you for our being and for clear, cool days and for this earth of myriad species of plant and animal, for the grace of loving and being loved. Let us name what is weighing on our hearts. The people of Afghanistan that we heard about in this morning's announcement from Jane and Robin, where desperate thousands still seek to escape. A protest march yesterday by Afghan women in Kabul demanding equal rights from the nation's new rulers was abruptly ended by Taliban forces firing weapons into the air. And the people of Haiti, where years of collapse have been capped by a presidential assassination, a devastating earthquake, and a drenching tropical storm. Gangs run the country now, filling the vacuum left by this multi-level collapse. And the people grieving the losses from COVID-19, which has so far killed 4.6 million worldwide, and this last week killed an average of almost 10,000 more a day. And those coping with losses from hurricane and tropical storm Ida, including the Unitarian Universalists of Hastings-on-Hudson, where mud and water inside their building was 3 feet deep. The leaders, the policymakers, and the regular citizens struggling to know what to do about climate change. And we also hold in our hearts the joys, sorrows, and celebratory milestones within our congregation. And written so we ask of ourselves the mindful intention to delight in what is good, to confront what is cruel, to heal what is broken. Amen. We observe now a moment of silent meditation, followed by a musical meditation, then sing along with the sung response.
Calling on you, hungry hearts, everywhere through endless time. You who wander, you who thirst, I offer you this heart of mine. Calling on you, hungry spirits, all the lost and the left behind. All I can, I'll share with you, your joy and your sorrow, I make it mine.
This summer, we're highlighting spiritual practices in the occasional or give it a try category. This week's practice is write your own obituary. The exercise is from Robert Hardy's. He writes, editors from newspapers like the New York Times and Washington Post do some calculations to try to figure out what famous people might be dying in the near future. And on the basis of those predictions, editors assign reporters to interview these subjects about their lives and ask them how they want to be remembered. Obituaries are written and filed away until the appropriate time. Most of us won't make the obituary page of a national newspaper, but the story of our lives matters deeply too. It matters to us and to our conscience. It matters to those whose lives we touch. We all play a role in shaping the unfolding drama of creation. So the story of our lives matters on an ultimate level too. So let's be good and faithful stewards of our lives' stories. Let's pay attention to how the story is unfolding. And take a moment today and write your obituary as if tomorrow were the last day of your life. Reflect on what has been most important. Use your journal or any piece of paper or your computer keyboard. For the full post, draft your obituary. See CUUCmatters.org.
Our next hymn is number 2, Down the Ages We Have Trod. Please sing along with Dr. Andy.
Down the ages we have trod, many paths in search of God, seeking ever to define the eternal and divine. Some have seen eternal good pictured best in parenthood, and
Bill Maher once said, "Curious people are interesting people." I wonder why that is. Are you a curious person? Not curious odd, but are you a person of great curiosity? I think most of us would say we are curious about some things. Curiosity is our theme of the month for September. Please do sign up for a journey group by going to our website, cucwp.org. Under the tab Community, you'll find journey groups, and there you'll see what the 9 options are for journey groups this year. Please pick one of them. As the new congregation year begins, it's that time of year when we ask everyone to sign up or re-sign up. If you were in a group last year, you might want to pick a different one this year or sign up for the same one again. If you haven't been in a group, please join one now. Members, friends, visitors, newcomers are all encouraged to sign up and join a journey group. These are groups of up to 12 people who meet once a month to explore together the theme of the month and build bonds of friendship and support. Our mission, which we reaffirm every Sunday as we did this morning, says we are here to nurture each other in our spiritual journeys. Our journey groups are the most central component of that part of our mission. I hope everyone will be a part of one of our journey groups. And if the 9 groups we have now all fill up, we will create more. Journey groups are how we nurture each other in our spiritual journeys. And that's the mission of this congregation. It's what we are here for. This month, we are looking at curiosity. I do think most of us are curious about some things. It is possible to lose that. Depression or discouragement can make a person just not interested in much of anything, not engaged, hardly alive. If that describes you, then it's difficult to rouse much curiosity. I understand that. But maybe you can rouse a little curiosity about just one thing, and that's a start. Maybe the path of a beginning out, the beginning of a path out. The opening words, the chalice lighting for this month's journey group meetings, is a line from Robert Maurer. He says, curiosity can be defined as an interest in anything novel, and everything is novel. Everything is novel. There is something in every situation that is new, including the way that things you might regard as familiar and old hats combine with each other in that moment. And moreover, since you are constantly changing, constantly adding new experience, and your old memories constantly fading, everything is novel in that it has never before presented itself to the you that you are now. But is it possible to be interested in everything? Curiosity operates in at least 2 different modes. And in one of those modes, the answer is no, you can't be interested in everything. If you went to college, you became aware that one cannot major in everything. You could double major, but 2 was about the max. Even in high school, most high schools, particularly for the juniors and seniors, there's some choice of classes. That means deciding that you're more interested in this than that. The mode of curiosity that drives us to dive deep, to develop expertise in a subject matter, demands time. And we don't have world enough and time to deeply study every topic. Some people are remarkable for being able to develop expertise in multiple disparate fields. Yesterday's paper had a story about Lorenzo Viatti, who is the chief conductor of both the Dutch National Opera and the Netherlands Philharmonic Orchestra. And he's also an avid boxer, tennis player, and swimmer who skateboards to work. Okay, that sounds fun, but even Maestro Viatti is not also a nuclear physicist, brain surgeon, chess master, or architect. It takes years to develop mastery of complex fields. 10,000 hours, according to Malcolm Gladwell, which is 5 years of working at 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. If you maintain your skill, you have to keep at it. When the great cellist Pablo Casals was 83 years old, he was still practicing cello 3 hours every day. When a journalist asked him why the world's leading cellist of his time still needed that much practice, Casals said, "I seem to be getting better." There's a deep curiosity here, a passion to find out, what can my fingers and arms do with a cello today? There are only so many hours in a day and only so many neurons in a brain, and so there are only a few fields in which any given person can pursue their deep curiosity to the point of mastery. There's another mode of curiosity, however, that is broad rather than deep. It's being interested in whatever you happen to encounter. So it's not so much a matter of choosing what interest to pursue, it's whatever arises around you or within you. Be engaged in that. There is something in every person you meet to be curious about, something in every situation to be interested in. This mode of curiosity is like mindfulness. It's paying attention to what's going on around you, what's going on within you, in your body, in your thoughts. It's being interested in whatever you encounter. The curiosity that drives us to investigate a subject in great depth is wonderful. I think of Joseph Priestley, our own founder in the 18th century, writing the 700-page History and Present State of Electricity, and then 6 volumes over 18 years on experiments and observations on different kinds of air. It can give us meaning and purpose, a sense of making a contribution to a field and enriching the storehouse of human knowledge or aesthetic experience, or just models of excellence. It is inspiring to have a focused passion about which you are incurably, insatiably curious to find out everything you can. And there's also this other mode of curiosity, just being curious about whatever presents itself to you. The one mode of curiosity defines your vocation, whether it's paid or unpaid. Your vocation, from the word voice, is your calling. It's the voice that calls to you. Your vocation is the interest, the pursuit of which consumes you more than any other. It's the great passion of your life. The other mode of curiosity is your life. It's being present to, engaged with your life moment by moment as it unfolds. In the mode of vocation, of life passion, curiosity has to be focused and limited. This mode of curiosity unfolds in time and takes the shape of the arc of a career. In the mode of here and now, curiosity takes on a timeless quality. A sense of the eternal now opens up as we simply pay attention to what is right here, right now. Each moment is new. Everything, always fresh. And in the here and now mode, curiosity means being interested in every moment. This is what Robert Maurer was talking about when he said curiosity is an interest in anything novel and everything is novel. After the break, we'll explore more this here and now timeless curiosity. Adam? the two modes of curiosity reinforce each other. They are mutually supportive. Your vocation mode curiosity might be in sciences, intensely curious about how nature works, or in the arts, curious about what beauty can be made in a given medium, or in practical matters like car engines or electrical systems or plumbing, or indeed finance or business corporation systems. Curiosity in your field engages you in life, gives you a feel for what engagement is like, which you can then apply generally, curious about each moment, always open to the wonder of each moment. And that's every moment wonder, in turn, can sustain your vocational work. Earlier, I said that a sense of the eternal now opens up as we simply pay attention to what is right here, right now. This phrase, the eternal now, may have struck you as curious. Let me say a little more about that. The theologian Paul Tillich used that phrase, the eternal now, as the title of a collection of sermons originally delivered between 1955 and 1963. Eternal here doesn't mean lasting throughout all time. It means outside of time. For Tillich, the eternal now referred to the presence of the eternal in the midst of the temporal. Tillich says, not everybody and nobody all the time is aware of this eternal now in the temporal now. But sometimes it breaks powerfully into our consciousness and gives us the certainty of the eternal, of a dimension of time which cuts into time and gives us our time. People who are never aware of this dimension lose the possibility of resting in the present. End quote. And we might also put that the other way around. When you rest in the present, an awareness begins to open up of that dimension of time, which cuts into time and gives us our time. There's a line in Paul's letter to the Hebrews that says, in the New Life version, help each other. Speak day after day to each other while it is still today, so your heart will not become hard. Notice that intriguing phrase, while it is still today. Why is that there? Paul could have left it out and just said, speak day after day to each other so your heart will not become hard. But Paul inserts this phrase, while it is still today. Help each other. Speak day after day to each other while it is still today, so your heart will not become hard. It's always still today. It's always right now. Day after day refers to the temporal day, and still today gives a sense of that presence of the eternal in the midst of the temporal, that dimension of time which cuts into time and gives us our time. Without that curiosity about the present moment, when the interests in what's going on around us and inside us fades, when we aren't fascinated by what's here now, when we slip out of that curiosity, as we all do, then we aren't really present. Where are we when we aren't present? Well, we're either in the past or in the future. Tillich says that when we are not attentive to the moment, we are being held by the past and cannot separate ourselves from it, or we escape towards the future, unable to rest in the present. We have not entered the eternal rest which stops the flux of time and gives us the blessing of the present. He goes on to add, perhaps this is the most conspicuous characteristic of our period, especially in the Western world and particularly in America. It lacks the courage to accept presence because it has lost the dimension of the eternal. End quote. And again, I want to put it the other way around. I'd say we lose the dimension of the eternal because we don't accept presence. There is such a mystery about the present, the riddle and the mystery. Curiosity about this mystery beckons us to enter into it. This is not a curiosity to find out something, to acquire some cognitive knowledge. This is curiosity to enter into unanswerable mystery, the mystery of this now. Tillich says, the mystery of the future and the mystery of the past are united in the mystery of the present. Our time, the time we have, is the time in which we have presence. But how can we have presence? Is not the present moment gone as soon as we think of it? Is not the present the ever-moving boundary line between past and future? But a moving boundary is not a place to stand upon. If nothing were given to us except the no more of the past and the not yet of the future, we would not have anything. But there is no present if we think of the never-ending flux of time. The riddle of the present is the deepest of all the riddles of time. Again, there is no answer except from that which comprises all time and lies beyond it, the eternal. Whenever we say now or today, we stop the flux of time for us. We accept the present and do not care that it's gone in the moment we accept it. We live in it, and it is renewed for us in every new present. End quote. The German writer Eckhart Tolle sounds a similar theme when he writes, the eternal present is the space within which your whole life unfolds, the one factor that remains constant. Life is now. There was never a time when your life was not now, nor will there ever be. End quote. Presence to now is non-judgmental. As soon as awareness slips to what you like or dislike, presence slips away. As soon as you return to presence, judgment about how things should be slips away. One of the more recurring features of here and now moments is other people, and being curious about them rather than judgmental will make us a lot happier. Writer and life coach Sandra Possing writes, when you're curious, you forget to be afraid. When you're curious, you're less attached to your ego and getting things right. When you're curious, you're open to new ideas, possibilities. And the opposite of this sort of curiosity is judging. Possing adds, when you default to judging things, you contract. You shut yourself off to the limitless possibilities all around you. It may feel good temporarily because it makes you feel superior, which feeds the ego, but in the long run, it just breeds negativity. The psychologist Kim Pratt explains that, unfortunately, negative evaluations of self and others is quite pervasive in our culture here in the United States. For many, it's their default way of relating to the world. But the good news is that with some practice, it's possible to shift thought patterns in a more positive and rational direction by cultivating more curiosity rather than judgment. On occasion, some evaluation is called for, but these occasions are a lot rarer than we seem to think. Living in should instead of is a recipe for discontent. Curiosity, on the other hand, imparts the clarity of a more rational view, fosters inner peace and better emotional and interpersonal functioning. Curiosity helps us tap into compassion and kindness for oneself and others. This month's Journey Group materials on curiosity includes a wonderful exercise on curiosity about moving out of judgment into curiosity. At the end of the day, Write down the most judgmental thought you had that day, and then write some related curious thoughts about that, questions and possibilities of empathy rather than judgment. For several examples of how to do this exercise, please do see the curiosity issue of On the Journey. Every time a feeling of annoyance or irritation or impatience or anger arises, right there, I've got 2 questions to be curious about. Curious about the person that is the immediate trigger of my feeling, what conditions would lead a person to act that way, and in those conditions, what are they feeling and needing? And second, what's going on in me that would cause me to have the reaction I'm having? When judgmentalism catches you, imagining possible answers to these 2 questions is typically enough to open you to a more peaceful and rational perspective. You don't need to reach satisfaction that you've ascertained the truth of the matter, but you do need curiosity to spur you to reflect rather than shut down, contract with a judgment that others or yourself are just wrong. May the blessings of curiosity open us to wonder. May it be so. Amen.
Our closing hymn is number 1003, Where Do We Come From? Please sing along with Michael and Les Tracy. The song has 4 parts, so sing whatever part feels good to you. And you may want to try switching around among the different parts as the Spirit moves you.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery.
Please say with me these words as we extinguish our chalices. We extinguish this chalice, and we carry with us the light of universal love, shining the way for ourselves and all others.
The last words of the Buddha.
Be ye lamps unto yourselves.
Be your own confidants.
Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp.
And go in peace.
There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. If we stick together, we can